the old adage that real men don't eat quiche? I actually had never heard that before, but I guess it's a thing. Jen Psaki might also have something to say about it in her fawning interview on MSNBC with Vice President Kamala Harris's husband, Doug Emhoff. She applauded Emhoff's approach to being a man. Let's watch.
Important part, an interesting part of how people have talked about your role here is how your role has reshaped the perception of masculinity. And I'm not sure you planned on that, but you are an incredibly supportive spouse. Has that been an evolution for you? And do you think that's part of the role you might play as First Gentleman?
It's funny, I've started to think a lot about this. I've always been like this. My dad was like this.
People on X went on to mock Jen Psaki. One user wrote, "We don't have journalists in mainstream media. We have prostitutes for their pimp the DNC." Jen Psaki blasted for saying Doug Emhoff reshaped perceptions of masculinity. And another person wrote, "Is this not funny or what? Jen Psaki's been slammed after praising Doug Emhoff, 59, for reshaping the perception of masculinity, even after it was exclusively revealed that he had an affair with his children's nanny."
The former press secretary for both Presidents Obama and Biden turned pundit also asked Emhoff about topics such as anti-Semitism. The media landscape on both sides seemed to be clouded by pundits who are formally part of one of the two main parties. So can we take any of these interviews seriously? What do you think, Robby?
Yeah, I don't. How has he changed perceptions of masculinity? What am I missing?
I think it is
because he's a supportive husband.
I think it's the idea that she has as it were, the primary role, at least in career terms, and he has the secondary role. He is, as far as we can tell, a supportive husband, and that's a good thing. I mean, I'm not sure that it is that shocking to American people who, in many households, the female is the main breadwinner or has the higher paid job or more prominent job. But, you know, good for him. Potentially the first gentleman of the United States.
Yeah, I don't. In my list of 100 different problems I have with Kamala Harris, they're almost entirely policy related, and they have nothing to do with her relationship with Doug Emhoff, which seems like a nice relationship and whatever. I don't care if she has a family or not. And also, I don't really care. Although, so people were making a lot of the, well, is he this really a role model as a spouse, given the whatever happened between in his previous marriage, but. You know, marriages are messy, and I don't really care about that either. I don't know that he's Jen Psaki, I just didn't understand what she was saying. Is it like he's not... Are we already past this, that traditional masculinity is alive in some contexts and dead in others, and some people are more masculine than others, and no one really cares anymore? And
yeah, I mean, I do have an issue with the frequency with which we now have this conveyor belt that puts press secretaries or political activists from either of the major parties, like I said in the introduction, into these
really
purportedly journalistic roles. And then obviously they have an in with all the people in their own party who they then bring on for these pretty soft, focused interviews.
It's very soft, very fluffy. I mean, I don't know how hard you can do an interview with the spouse,
right.
Which I would say the same thing if it was a male spouse or a female spouse. It's not like hard-hitting interviews are being done with Melania Trump or even like Michelle Obama or whatever. And though Michelle had more of a somewhat of a policy role, at least with lunches and nutrition. Remember all that? Not that I thought her ideas were very good either.
There's a surprise.
I mean, you know, she wasn't.
We can defend Michelle.
She wasn't
Obama
deploying
lunches.
quiche into the lunch boxes of all, you know, probably, you know, sapping the masculine energies of our young people with quiche being deployed.
I'm very glad that I can reassert quiche is terrible food. So I'm glad that I can take pride in my masculinity and being anti-quiche.
It's like spinach and egg.
And spinach. Yeah, the thing I don't like about it is texture is very sort of fluffy. I'm not pro quiche.
It's like a cake.
Well, I am anti-murder, as we were saying earlier on,
Anti-murder.
Also anti-quiche.
Okay, yeah. I guess I'm not a big fan either, although I like egg-based things. Oh, yeah. Speaking of eggs, here's something totally random I can pull into this conversation.
Go for it.
It is a speaking of eggs. I saw there is a random tweet by someone quoting J.D. Vance. He apparently had said that his 2 young sons eat about 14 eggs every single morning. And Stephanie Rule of MSNBC responds to that, well, that would be 14 eggs per day, 98 eggs per week, 2 children consuming 8+ dozen eggs per week. Like, it's like a fact check.
Of his eggs. Of the
Obviously,
egg
okay, when
consumption.
I've said I'm so hungry I could eat a horse.
Right. You don't
Are you going to come
actually-
fact check me? I'm not actually capable of eating a horse.
Right.
This is very, very stupid.
Yeah, no, they do get into crazy areas with all of that stuff. There was also a story at the weekend that was kind of controversial, and I'll try to give both sides. J.D. Vance showed up in some diner or restaurant in Pittsburgh. He
Seeking more eggs for his children.
probably keeping that egg supply going.
Yeah.
The manager apparently freaked out because Vance arrived unannounced with Secret Service and all that, and it became a thing because people on the right were saying he had been barred from this restaurant where other Democratic candidates had been allowed in, and the restaurant was saying, no, it's only a matter of confusion, and that became a whole thing. What we really need to know is the egg consumption, which I'm not aware of for that particular restaurant.
We need to really solve that one. Fact checkers, get on it. I want to know exactly how many eggs are eaten in the Vance household every morning. And do not rest until this information is obtained.
And are they in quiches, which is obviously the important thing, or are they actually general eggs
Right,
in a
because
more
then-
orthodox fashion?
Yeah, then there's no masculinity if it's a quiche.
In the Vance household, there's too much quiche.
Too much quiche. All right, I think we've said all we can say on this topic and then some. More Rising right after this.